All right, so this Knife Thoughts video is a review of this knife, the Sencut Waxahachie. And this is a new knife from Sencut, which is a relatively newer brand. If you haven't heard of it, they're another brand in the family of brands that is WE and Civivi knives. And they're making some really nice knives. I've gotten a few of their knives recently, and I did just recently become an affiliate. So if you decide to buy this knife or any of their knives, make sure you use the link in the description. You can also use the code KNIFETHOUGHTS to get an extra discount. But I have been really enjoying their knives. The Snap was one of my favorite knives of 2021. So when they came out with their first fixed blade, I was pretty interested and excited to check it out. So this knife has really similar materials to what you might find on a Civivi knife. It has green micarta scales. It does have a black wash finish, coated finish, and then it has 9CR18 MOV steel. And just to give you a quick comparison, if you're familiar with the Conspirator, which is a recent model from Civivi and a relatively popular model, you can see the similarities. The micarta is the same micarta, the finish on the blades are the same. Now, this knife has Nitro V steel, but I wouldn't even really say that Nitro V and 9CR18 MOV are huge differences in quality or, steel levels. I would say that they're relatively similar. So similar materials between the two. And this Sencut Waxahachie is actually a little bit closer in price range to Civivi knives. Originally, I thought that Sencut was kind of a more budget brand of Civivi, but it seems that rather Sencut is just another brand. And I have heard people say that Sencut is the in-house design brand and Civivi will be used for collaborations, but it seems like Civivi is still making in-house designs also. So I think that it's really just two different brands, and you can expect Sencut knives to be in a similar price range to Civivi. Speaking of which, this knife at about $70 with the same materials pretty much as the Conspirator, which is also in that same type price range, is a little bit more expensive than Sencut's previous knives, which were in the $40 to $50 range. But it does have a lot of things that I really like about it. So first of all, the design. The design really drew me in. It has a really classic clip point blade. You can see that it has a drawn swedge here, and it does kind of curve upwards towards the clip, and then the clip curves downwards towards a very fine, very usable tip. So I really like the shape of this blade. It has some nice straight edge and then a very gradual curve belly towards the tip that makes it really usable. I have used this knife a good bit since getting it. Knife, not knife. Since getting it, and I have found it to work really well. Civivi, Sencut, WE, they all do a really good job of their grinds, and this is, another example of that. This knife cuts really well. It's not ground super thick or anything like that, like some fixed blades are. So I appreciate that. Then the handle is really simple, and if you watch my channel that I think that a simple handle makes for an ergonomic handle, and that's the case here. It does have a nice little guard. It has chamfering all along the edges, and then because it's a nice simple handle, really, really ergonomic. I found this to be really, really easy and comfortable to use, and I do get a full 4-finger grip. It's not a huge knife. You can check out the specs on Sencut's site, but it's not a huge knife, but I have pretty wide hands and I can get a full 4-finger grip, even in this type grip, let alone pinch and, classic hammer type grip here. So really comfortable, and it does have these cutouts which make for a little bit lighter weight, which is nice because this is an EDC size knife. Now it did come with a lanyard. It does have a pretty good size lanyard hole. So some lanyard holes are so small that it's really hard to get normal paracord through. This is not the case here. This is a pretty good size lanyard hole. The lanyard that it came with was really big, so I took it off, but you could definitely get a lanyard on this. And as you can see, the scales are removable, or the covers, however you call them, or whatever you call them, are removable. So that's a nice thing in case you want to customize or something like that. So I really like the design, very comfortable on the handle, very practical, and just good looking in this classic clip point blade. And I do also like the black and green together. I actually bought the Conspirator in this color scheme just because the others had sold out on White Mountain knives. And I ended up really liking it, so I got this one. But the other really great thing about this knife is that it comes with a really good sheath. So that's often one of the downsides of, fixed blades, especially if they're relatively inexpensive fixed blades, is that they don't come with a great sheath usually. This one is actually really nice. It's very well fitted. So I want to show you how well this clicks in. That clicks in really nicely. It's a well thought out. You can see that there's flaring here, but then it holds it in at the guard there. And this thing, I just really don't think that this is going to come out no matter how hard you shake it. So really good retention, but easy to, put in and take out. So really well done on the fitting of the sheath, and it's not overly big. You can see, there's space for the rivets, but beyond that, it is not an overly large sheath. And then it does come with actually a Civivi and Terzola branded Tech-Lock style attachment system. So I think that these probably came with the Waxahachie, is that what it's called? The Terzola design that Civivi is making. And so they're using it on this also. Now, this, when I first got it, I thought that it was not reversible for horizontal carry, but I actually messaged Sencut and they said, yeah, it is. So you can reverse it. You can turn it so that you can carry this knife horizontal. I did carry it horizontal, which I normally prefer, but I ended up preferring carrying this vertical. I did move, I believe that the whatever, Tech-Lock style attachment system came attached to this side of the sheath. I moved it to this side just because it just turned it so that it fit on my belt a little bit better. But I did find that it was more comfortable to carry vertical and very easy to carry, actually. I was surprised. Sometimes I don't find carrying fixed blades to be that comfortable, but I was able to carry this actually next to my gun that I carry, and had no issues when I was carrying both, let alone just when I carried just this. So I'm really happy with the sheath, and you can see that it's finished nicely also. There's finishing along the edges, and really putting all this together, I think where Sencut, I thought originally that it was a more budget brand of, Civivi. I don't think that that's the case, and you can see that in this knife. It is a very nice knife. It's very well made. It's made just as well as any Civivi. And speaking of that, it actually has one difference between previous Sencut knives that I have shown, which is how that it comes packaged. So Civivi knives typically come in a relatively nice box with a pouch and things like that. And previous Sencuts that I've gotten have come in a really plain cardboard box with no pouch, just kind of the knife in there. This knife, the Waxahachie, and you can see how that's spelled there, came in this box, which is a relatively nice box. You can see that it has Sencut on the sides and then the logo. And inside, it came with a little blade protector because there's not enough space for the knife to be actually in the sheath. And it did also come, like a lot of Civivi and Wee knives, here's the lanyard I was talking about, with a nice little microfiber cloth. Pretty nice, very, very similar to the ones that come with Civivis. And then just a little bit of information that if you really want to, you can read, but it's the same stuff that comes with every knife. So there's that. So definitely nicer packaging with this Sencut, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that continues. I do think that they're moving towards that, higher end feel for their knives, and this is a great example of that. I think that it's a really well done knife. I've really enjoyed carrying and using it, and it fits in with my carry pretty well. It's not too big that it's hard to carry. It's not too small that it doesn't make sense to have a fixed blade. Great design, great looks, great ergonomics, great manufacturing, and it also just looks really good when you carry it with the similar colorway Conspirator. And I just wanted to real quick give you some size comparisons. Like I say, I'm not a big, person on giving the specs. You can look them up if you really want to, but I'll give you a couple quick comparisons before I end the video here. Here is a CRKT Minimalist, very small EDC fixed blade. You can see that it is much smaller than the Waxahachie. Another example of getting a really good sheath for the price. Then here is a Mora knife. I think this is the 546, which is the stainless basic. You can see that very similar handle length. The handle's actually a little smaller on the Sencut Waxahachie. Very similar blade length also. So if you're familiar with the Mora basic, it's a similar size as the Waxahachie, or the Waxahachie is a similar size to it. And then here is a Mora Companion, one of the most highly recommended and best budget fixed blades. You can see a little bigger, not a whole lot bigger, but definitely a little bigger. Longer blade, and then, I don't know why that's so blurry. Longer blade, and then a little bit longer handle also. So the Waxahachie is a very moderate sized knife, I would say, and it has worked well for me. I've really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to what Sencut comes out with in the future. I think that they're moving in the right direction, although I wouldn't mind to see an even more budget-friendly, brand of knives from the same manufacturer that makes these, Sencut, Civivi, and We. I do like seeing these kind of really nicely made knives from another brand. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. You can leave any comments. I'm always interested to see what people have to say. Also check out my other social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.